Dave Roberts. And strike three. Dodgers have won it all in 2020.
So welcome back to baseball. We had ourselves a bit of a crazy ending to last night's World Series final game, which was Game 6. Ryan, I got to show you this clip because I don't know what was going on with Manfred whatsoever.
Yeah, please. I've been hearing all about it. I need to see this.
So let's take a look at this real quick. This is insane.
Corey, you thrilled our fans throughout the postseason with a great performance. You led the Dodgers to a World Series victory, and it's my pleasure to recognize your great play with the Willie Mays Most Valuable Player Award presented by Chevrolet.
Now, folks, that wasn't lag in the video. That was actual Manfred lag.
So meanwhile, there's a couple of things going on there. First off, he's being booed like all hell, right? He's being booed like all hell while that's happening.
It's to be expected at this point, I feel like.
Right. And you also see he seems that he's talking in slow motion. So what we've done before, right, is with our podcast before in the past, we've slowed things down half speed. And it makes you sound just like that. Am I right?
For real. I don't know if he was drunk. I don't know if he had a stroke. Yep. I don't know if he started celebrating a little too early that they actually got through the World Series. Maybe he was just so happy they made it. And that almost had a disaster that we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah. And speaking of which, what it may have been was the news of Justin Turner. So Justin Turner was pulled, I believe, in the 8th inning of last night's game.
Yep. After 3 at-bats.
After 3 at-bats, everyone's wondering what's going on. Is he injured? Did he just decide that he needs some rest with an inning left? Or I don't know what it was. So we're all wondering. Afterwards, as soon as the World Series is over, we hear that Justin Corona, right? Justin Turner tested positive for COVID-19. So insane, right?
Insane.
So just think about that. So right now, Rob Manfred's probably sitting in his office in his high tower, probably just getting wasted as all hell because he's like, oh my God, I got to go out there now. This was his thing. This was his bubble, right? That he thought was going to be the savior to all humanity. It turns out it wasn't. But we got through it. And I think he was just happy as shit that the World Series was over and they completed the season.
Yeah, he was. And for the people who don't know the series of events as we know them right now, it was that in the 2nd inning, MLB contacted the Dodgers, letting him know that Justin Turner's test was inconclusive from the day before, from Monday. Mm-hmm. So then what they did is immediately test his Tuesday results, which apparently came out positive. And by the time they got to them and let them know, I guess it was the 8th inning, he had to be pulled. Now he's already been by his teammates for 8 innings, let alone 6 games.
Right.
And they take him off the field. And imagine being Justin Turner in that moment. You know, we know he got on the field afterwards, which we'll get into, and there's controversy around that. But now you've been there for 8 innings. Now you have to come off, and you're essentially isolated while you watch your teammates celebrate on the field after a shortened season, a season that some people think has an asterisk to it, but a World Series win nonetheless, and the first one in 32 years for this organization.
Right. The fact that he couldn't celebrate is a small tragedy in itself. A guy who always puts up big numbers in the postseason. They've been to the World Series now, it seems like almost every year for the last like 3 or 4 years. It just seems like they're always there. But he always puts up big numbers in the World Series. So I felt like if anyone really deserved the celebration, it would have been him. So at first I thought, he doesn't come out at all. He doesn't get to celebrate whatsoever. Turns out that he did. Right. And we have the picture of that. So
we do.
So he's out there celebrating, and then quickly these bigwigs, fat cats, whatever you want to call them, that run the team come running out like it's an emergency, and they start handing out masks like crazy. It's like, no. You have to wear your mask. You have to wear your mask. Right. Just handing out these masks like it's like Oprah Winfrey show or something.
Yeah, well, you see it first. There's a couple pictures after. There's one with him celebrating with the team. being on the field with the World Series picture with the trophy and all, no mask on anybody. Then there's another picture that must have been taken a couple minutes later where it's him and like the few people around him are wearing a mask and no one else.
Right.
But then you also have the picture of him kissing of his wife, his girlfriend. I'm not 100% sure on his personal relationships right now, but he's kissing somebody. Obviously, there's no mask between them. And right in the bottom of that, it's saying Justin Turner tested positive for COVID-19.
Hey, he could have two families. He could be like another Bartolo Colon, you know?
It's
Who's
just
to say Turner doesn't have it like that.
It's a comedy of events, essentially. You know, it's a tragedy and a comedy at the same time, but it's really not a good look for Major League Baseball with all the supposed protection they're putting out there. Yet, meanwhile, you had someone who that day tested positive was allowed to play for 8 innings.
Yeah. So here's my question about this, Ryan. So if you have any speculation of him actually having COVID-19, and we still don't know if this was a false positive or not, because that's very possible. We've seen that already this season. But for him to play 8 innings, the damage is already potentially done. I mean, he's been there for 8 innings now. He's been there for the whole entire World Series. He's been just clubbing baseballs, which he does best. And he's been playing outstanding, right? First off, so no ill effects of this, what would be coronavirus. He's playing very well. But he's out there anyway. So my point is, like, why even pull him at that point? It's like, that's the kind of thing, if you're not gonna talk, if you're not gonna say it, don't say it there, because it's just no good comes out of that. You're not saving anyone from one inning anyway.
Yeah, well, that's where the conspiracy theories start to come in, because you start looking at Major League Baseball. They know ahead of time and wanted to wait till it was essentially over. You know, what happens if they force the Game 7 now? Then how do you release that news? You know, is Game 7 in any danger because he's not only been around his teammates, but the opposing team? There's just so many questions now that come into this whole, how did they let this slip by? Is it weird that it waited till the end of the series for this to happen? I mean, all we know is what Major League Baseball tells us. And if we know anything from the steroid scandal, they don't tell us everything.
No, absolutely not. And you have to make a great point there, Ryan, because if you're sitting there, you're the commissioner, the last thing you want to do is announce this before the game, right? Because if they announce it before the game, they kind of have to postpone the game. If they postpone the game, we have a potential outbreak. How many other people are going to test positive then after this? Because he's around a lot of guys, hugging and doing whatever with these gentlemen. And they're going to probably most likely pick it up too. Now, if this happens, you're talking about not about 1, not about 2, not about 3, but probably potentially maybe a week delay of the World Series when you just want to finish this thing. And now we're getting into November here. You potentially might not even be able to finish this season, which you've done so much to get to this point. So as a commissioner, you might be thinking, no, don't release this till later, which might have to do with why he was talking so slow.
It might have had to do with why he was so drunk.
Right. Now, it's too late already. I already did, but I don't want to joke about it because who knows? Maybe something's really wrong with this dude. Like maybe something, mentally happened with him physically. I don't know what it is. First thing that came to my mind was drunk. Second thing that came to my mind was stroke. So it's definitely one of those two.
I mean, I know it's probably been a stressful year for him, but
yeah,
you don't wish ill will on people.
Right.
But
and
something happened.
We in the media, we deal with audio all the time and video, right? So we know that technical difficulties do happen. So I even saw someone comment that it was probably a feedback issue with the mic or something in his in-ear monitor but I don't think so. I don't think it would slow you down to that degree. It might make you talk a little strange or a little loud or a little too soft or whatever it is. But I don't think it would make you talk like this.
You wouldn't think so. You think he would just be signaling to somebody like, ear, microphone problem, getting a microphone or something. I don't know. It sounded like it was a user error, as people like to say. No,
it did. It sounded like an angry intern calling in. And that's what it sounded like to me. It sounded like someone who was, had a little bit too much sauce, and also nerves too on top of that compiling. So all that was very weird. But let's not lose track of what a great World Series this was. Now you had 2 teams in this that were both top seed in their leagues, right? So you had the Rays, who were the best record in the American League. You had in the National League, the best record was the Dodgers, and you rarely see that. And out of all things in this particular season, where we had so many teams, it was almost like everyone gets a trophy kind of year. where everyone almost was in the playoffs except for the Mets and the Phillies. And you actually ended up having a legit best versus best. And that's what I like to see. And then the best team really won here. And
it did. The Dodgers just outmatched them offensively. You know, their offensive firepower was just too much for Tampa. Doesn't help when you have someone like Blake Snell who's rolling. Let's not forget about this in this final game 6.
Right.
Blake Snell's rolling along 72 pitches, I think it was, not even 6 innings deep, and they decide to pull him. That decision is going to be second guessed for years to come now, especially if the Rays never get back to that championship with this team, because how do you do that with everything on the line? How do you not stick with your big gun?
I don't know. Kevin Cash once said that he has a whole stable full of guys in the pen, you know, and he's not afraid to use them. So maybe he was thinking about that stable, and he was just so amped up to bring in that bullpen and you know, and try to close the door. But 72 pitches, is that what you said, Ryan? 72 pitches, something like that. I don't know how you do it. Snell was obviously upset. What are you saving him for? There's nothing else after this. This is it. This is his last start. This is the last time he's going to appear in a game. This is your big guy. This is your big gun. This is your big horse.
Yeah, I heard some theories that he was trying to save him to potentially pitch in game 7, but you're not up 3-2. There is no game 7 if you don't win this. You have to put all hands on deck as much as possible.
Yeah.
The fact that he took him out there, this is the problem with analytics. You know, people are saying it's the new wave of baseball. This is the way it's going. This is where analytics get in the way of the eye test.
Yeah.
He's pitching. He's dominating. Your team is not scoring a ton of runs. You know, I can understand if they're up a bunch now. You're like, okay, maybe we'll save him for a bullpen appearance later. You need as much as you can out of this guy to pull him at that point. If Cash is still the manager of this team next year, I'll actually be shocked, because I think there's going to be a lot of people calling for his head. Not that there's a lot of Tampa Bay fans, but the ones that are there will be calling for his head.
Yeah, it's going to be like the queen of hearts, right? Or in Alice in Wonderland, because it's going to be off at his head real quick. I'm telling you, man, that was a bonehead decision. There was no reason for that, especially when your pitcher was visibly upset the way that he was. He was still grinning and bearing through it all. 1-0 game. We're talking getting through another 3 innings here of and you don't know what kind of bullpen you're going to get. Granted, they did not pitch too bad. It was actually a couple of misfortunate events that happened. A couple of bleeders, you know, that scored. And then you had all of a sudden it was a 3-1 game.
Yeah, and that one bomb by Betts that kind of put it away.
Right. And then Mr. Positive, Justin Turner just missed one too. He just missed one. I don't know if that the test had anything to do with that extra 5 feet that would have took, but it turned out it didn't matter because, you know, we still had a world champion Dodger team here. Dodgers haven't won since '88. So that was big. Tremendous. I mean, for them, for their organization, I have no love for the Dodgers whatsoever, which I've expressed. I was kind of rooting for the Rays. But hey, good for them. Good job, guys.
Yeah, I got a couple fun facts for you about that, because we know they last won in '88. The Lakers also last won in '88. We know both teams won this year. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the Dodgers won their 7th championship, and the Lakers won their 17th championship. 7 plus 17, 24.
Wow.
For Kobe. Dodgers last won in '88, as we just said. Kobe's numbers were 24 and 88. 1988 plus 24 plus 8. 2020.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know you were such a numerology expert, but it turns out you are, man.
You can get to some funny stuff with this. You know, both teams won it in 6 games. That means the series ended 2-4, 2 for the losing team, 4 for the winning team. 24.
Wow.
And then I got one more to drop on you, because the numbers do not lie. 88 Lakers 1-7, 88 Dodgers 1-5. 2020 Lakers 1-6, 2020 Dodgers 1-6. 7 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6. I don't think I got to take it what that equals at this point.
This is crazy.
24.
Now, if you're tuning in here and you're seeing all this math going on, you're probably thinking this is a conspiracy theory video. I mean, and it kind of there's a lot of conspiracy theories as there are naturally with this entire series, because you had what unfolded at the end. But look, let's not forget, we had some great games here too. I mean, look, game 4, great example, back and forth the whole entire game. Kind of game that as a baseball fan, we want to see, right? That's exactly what you want to see. Back and forth baseball.
That was an instant classic.
And then it turns out at the very end, they're down by 1 run, right? Phillips comes up, who I don't even think has even taken a bat in over a month. He hasn't gotten a hit, since Jesus Christ walked the earth. But when he gets up and he has himself a meltdown after the hit. I couldn't believe it. I mean, he couldn't believe it. He gets the base hit, and then we have a craziness going on. Craziness because the tying run scores. We know that was going to score. Then, oh my God, it's crazy that they even sent the second run home, the winning run home, because he comes home. He would have been a dead duck, falls. So he was completely out. All you had to do was kind of even Muncy, what Muncy could have done, and who has a clear view of this, by the way, he could see him fall. He could have ran up and tagged him. He had enough time, So he sees this. He throws a little lob, which looked like a changeup. And then Will Smith goes to tag him without even looking at the ball. And then that's why the Rays won. So that was crazy in itself. Now at the end, Phillips, who got the base hit, loses his mind. I was concerned for him. You think I was concerned about the commissioner of baseball? I was concerned about Phillips. So he gets his base hit. He's running around doing the soar here, which I assume is a ray, is a devil ray. We're not supposed to talk about devil rays anymore, just rays. But that to me was a point where he lost all consciousness. He looked like he was going to pass out, and turns out he was dehydrated. So you had a story within a story right there too.
You did. Another fun fact about that play, though, that was actually the second day in a row that Joe Buck got to call a player falling down in a big play, because he was also calling the Daniel Jones game where he ran and just mysteriously fell down by some ghosts or demons or something.
People are just falling.
That's 2 in a row.
We mentioned that, Daniel Jones might have been touched by an angel or touched by a Philadelphia soul. But why are people just falling all of a sudden? Is it because of the time of year? Is the ground extra hard or something? Like you would think that, I don't know what's happening, but people are tripping all over themselves. So he trips, literally. That man was tripping. He was tripping hard.
They're tripping over themselves more than people are tripping over themselves to follow us.
Right. Exactly. Right. I'm tripping over these numbers, but just a great World Series to watch as a fan. It turns out, this a very fitting end, because you could just tell Manfred is just so relieved that the season is over. He even mentioned it.
Yeah.
How relieved he was and how proud he was of his players, right? Which they negotiated a million times at our expense as fans, but they finally got the season underway. And then this happens. And I guarantee it, Ryan, there's no question they knew about this prior. They just were not going to say that he had a positive test, because then you don't have a World Series until you're talking maybe the second week of November at best.
Yeah. I mean, look, with the way this season has gone, the way this whole year has gone, was there any doubt that the end of the World Series, the end of the baseball season, was going to have some kind of strangeness, some kind of controversy, some kind of something COVID related?
Mm-hmm.
It ended up happening. It had been like something like a month or two since the last time there was a positive test.
Mm-hmm.
So now, of course, the last day of the year, the last game of the year, there has to be something related to that. And it's just, I think a lot of people are just glad it's over now. I'm glad we got the season that we had, even though it was only 60 games. We got baseball. We got through it. A lot of people didn't think we were going to get through that.
Right.
And now it's just looking forward to 2021 and hopefully a sense of normalcy with that season starting in late March, early April. Hopefully maybe getting people in the stands, even because if they could do it in the World Series now, maybe if nothing else next year, even if it's not full capacity, maybe you can start letting some people into the ballparks, come April.
Yeah. That's the hope. You look ahead now, it's a relief, not only for Manfred, but for me too, because now that we're over, we can look ahead to 21 and we could actually have a real season. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. This was far from an actual real season of at least what we're used to. 60 games, everyone gets a shot, right, to get into the playoffs. It seemed like. So look, I want to win as a Met fan. I like to see my team win in a real season, and I think it gives us a lot to look forward to. Key thing here from the World Series that we need to talk about is that there were actual real bodies in the stands. Thank God for that, because I could not see another virtual fan. I would have just jumped off the cliff if I saw one more virtual fan. And these were real people. I had to like rub my eyes and do a second take and say, wow, these are real people. But I think that they mixed in fake noise with them, because there's no way that, 10,000, 12,000, whatever it was able to make that kind of noise. The crowd.
Dave
I'm sure
Roberts.
they definitely had to pipe in some crowd noise, because they're not going to make that in an empty open stadium like that they're not going to make that kind of noise.
Right.
But it was good to see fans actually getting to watch their team celebrate, even if it wasn't our team. That just, you saw something, a little bit of normalcy there.
Right.
And then the other thing to really take away is some of the things that are going to stay and some of the things that are going to go in terms of the rules. Looks like next year, unless there's some kind of bargain that gets reached, the DH will not be in the National League next year.
No.
Which is going to affect the Mets a lot. And it's going to affect a lot of teams who are trying to strategize for how they can do this. Another thing is the interest in, you seem like just picking up steam that either this extra inning second base guy might stick around, which I do not want to see at all. And there's a number of rules now where they're saying, okay, what are we going to keep? The expanded playoffs. They said it might not be 16, but it could be 12.
Right.
If it's 12, that's not too bad.
I can deal with 12.
I can deal with 12. 16 is too much.
Yeah,
Too
16
much.
is way too much. 12, I can honestly, I can roll with that, because as long as there's more teams that don't make it than that do make it to the playoffs in each league, I'm cool with that. I'm not cool with, more, the other way around. More teams making the playoffs than one staying home.
No.
That's just not playoff baseball. You know
We
what I
had
mean?
an Astros team that was under 500 that almost made it to the World Series.
Right. So, look, Dodgers did it. Congratulations. Hopefully they never win again, because I'm tired of seeing them in the World Series. It's time for a new team to jump on in there. Hey, maybe it's our good old Mets. We have a new owner. It's not official yet, but we're supposed to have a new owner in Steve Cohen.
Friday
is
could
the
be the
Messiah.
announcement. It could be coming as soon as Friday.
Yeah. Hey, look, if he comes Friday, great, because that's going to be a good Friday. I'll tell you that much. a real good Friday. Speaking of Messiahs. So I think that, we're looking ahead of here. It's a lot to look forward to. Before you know it, you're going to come out of bed, you're going to roll out of bed, and it's going to be opening day. It happens that quick. It's not that long. We're only talking maybe 4 months here until the new season. April, I want to say April 1st is the first game, I believe, an opening day. And
Something
hopefully
around
we'll
that.
be able to actually attend games next year. I'm looking to actually go. So Manfred, put down the bottle, whatever you need to do to make that happen. It's time to make this thing work. Get fans back in the stands. And I'm glad that I saw 10 to 12,000 of them at least in Arlington.
Yeah, let's get this thing done next year. Now we can start looking forward to the offseason and what's to come. And hopefully what's to come is a lot more normalcy, because we all need it.
We all need it. So that's all we have here. He's Ryan. I'm Steve. And we're baseballed. And we're out.
Baseballed out.